Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the most thrilling, heartbreaking, and explosive moments of your favorite daytime dramas. Today is a beautiful day to unpack the labyrinthine secrets and devastating betrayals currently threatening to tear the fabric of Genoa City apart. Without further ado, let us step directly into the eye of the gathering storm. The atmosphere inside the executive offices of Newman Enterprises is thick with an unspoken, suffocating tension as Victoria Newman sits behind her imposing desk, her mind working with the ruthless precision of a seasoned predator. She is entirely consumed by the suspicious circumstances surrounding the sudden and inexplicable surrender of Newman Media by Sally Spectra and Audra Charles. The narrative being spun by Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson that the two women simply folded under the threat of Victor Newman's impending corporate wrath feels fundamentally flawed to Victoria. She possesses an intimate understanding of the cutthroat nature of Genoa City's business landscape, and she knows that pragmatic mercenaries like Audra and ambitious survivors like Sally do not simply walk away from a highly lucrative asset without securing some form of hidden leverage. The sheer convenience of the transaction gnaws at Victoria's instincts, prompting her to look beyond the carefully constructed lies and dig into the shadowy underbelly of her brother's recent financial maneuvers. Driven by a relentless need to uncover the truth and assert her dominance, Victoria leverages her immense executive authority and taps directly into the vast, clandestine information network meticulously built by her father. She bypasses standard corporate protocols, initiating a deep forensic audit of Adam's recent activities. For hours, she sifts through a complex web of encrypted ledgers, offshore accounts, and dummy corporations, her eyes scanning the digital breadcrumbs left behind by her brother's desperate attempt to cover his tracks. Victoria operates with a cold, calculated efficiency, fueled by the thrilling anticipation of catching Adam in a monumental deception. She understands that uncovering this secret will not only neutralize Adam's arrogant posturing, but also provide her with the ultimate weapon to dismantle the fragile alliances forming outside the protective walls of the Newman Empire. The moment of discovery strikes with the force of a physical blow as the labyrinthine puzzle pieces finally snap into perfect alignment. Victoria unearths undeniable, irrefutable proof of a massive, clandestine financial transfer originating from one of Adam's untraceable shell companies and landing directly in an account controlled by Sally Spectra. The sheer magnitude of the secret payout illuminates the entire conspiracy, confirming Victoria's darkest suspicions. It was never a surrender, it was a highly orchestrated, illicit buyout conducted entirely behind Victor's back. As Victoria stares at the glowing screen, a chilling smile touches her lips. She realizes the catastrophic potential of the digital dossier she now holds. This single piece of evidence possesses the power to obliterate Adam's standing with their father, destroy Audra's strategic positioning, and, most enticingly to Victoria, completely shatter the delicate, trusting foundation of Sally's romantic relationship with Billy Abbott. Victoria's motivations for weaponizing this information are deeply rooted in her complex, historically volatile dynamic with Billy. Despite the passage of time and the shifting boundaries of their respective lives, Victoria harbors a lingering, possessive resentment regarding Billy's desperate attempts to build a stable life with someone as chaotic and untrustworthy as Sally. She views Billy's blind devotion to Sally as a pathetic vulnerability, a glaring weakness that inevitably leads to his self-destruction. Armed with the financial proof, Victoria makes a chillingly calculated decision. She will not confront Adam privately, nor will she issue a quiet warning to Billy. Instead, she resolves to orchestrate a public, devastating execution of Sally's character, ensuring that Billy witnesses the ultimate betrayal firsthand. Victoria wants to be the architect of his agonizing awakening, forcing him to confront the agonizing reality that the woman he loves has secretly profited from a treacherous alliance with his greatest enemy. Meanwhile, entirely unaware of the impending doom racing toward her, Sally Spectra is slowly suffocating under the crushing weight of her own deception. The secret of the massive financial payout sits like a lead weight in her chest, poisoning every interaction she has with Billy. The pragmatic, emotionally detached voice of Audra Charles constantly echoes in her mind, aggressively advising her to maintain the lie of omission to protect their newly formed corporate venture. Audra insists that revealing the truth would only trigger Billy's unpredictable volatility, but Sally is finding it increasingly impossible to reconcile her financial survival with her personal integrity. She is drowning in a sea of gnawing guilt, terrified that the foundation of her relationship is built on a ticking time bomb. Every time Billy looks at her with unwavering trust, Sally feels a visceral stab of panic, desperately hoping that the truth will remain buried forever in the shadowy depths of Adam's corporate maneuvering. Billy Abbott, conversely, is operating in a state of dangerous, blissful ignorance regarding the Newman media transaction. Consumed by his own escalating paranoia surrounding Chancellor Industries and his deeply entrenched hatred for Adam, Billy views Sally through a lens of absolute, unwavering protection. He firmly believes the narrative that Sally was brutally victimized by the Newman family machine, forced to surrender the company he gifted her to escape Adam's aggressive intimidation tactic. This savior complex blinds Billy to the subtle, terrifying cracks in Sally's demeanor. He is completely oblivious to the fact that his grand, romantic gesture of gifting her Newman media has been secretly monetized and sold back to the very man he despises. Billy's absolute faith in Sally's victimhood sets the stage for a psychological fracture of unprecedented proportions, leaving his emotional core entirely exposed to the devastating strike Victoria is meticulously preparing to deliver. With the patience of a seasoned hunter, Victoria orchestrates the perfect trap, utilizing her resources to track Billy and Sally's movements through the bustling heart of Genoa City. She selects a high-end, sophisticated venue for the encounter, ensuring the atmosphere is dripping with elegance and public scrutiny, a stark, cruel contrast to the emotional bloodbath she is about to unleash. Victoria times her arrival with flawless precision, ensuring the collision appears to be nothing more than a spontaneous, coincidental crossing of paths. As she glides across the room toward their table, her posture is relaxed, her expression a mask of polite, aristocratic indifference. She is a master of psychological warfare, fully prepared to dismantle Sally's life piece by piece, while maintaining the facade of a concerned, casually inquisitive observer. The initial approach is executed with chilling perfection. Victoria greets Billy and Sally with a practiced warmth that fails to reach her piercing eyes. The pleasantries exchanged are laced with an underlying, suffocating tension that immediately puts Sally on high alert. Victoria seamlessly integrates herself into their space, playing the role of the inquisitive corporate executive, simply making conversation with a former partner. She maneuvers the dialogue with lethal, invisible precision, slowly and deliberately steering the topic away from mundane trivialities and directly toward the highly sensitive subject of Spectra Charles and the recent, controversial surrender of Newman Media. Every word Victoria speaks is a carefully calculated step closer to the tripwire, and she watches with predatory satisfaction as the color begins to drain from Sally's face. As Victoria gently and innocently probes the circumstances surrounding the loss of the company, Sally instinctively raises her defensive shields, desperately clinging to the rehearsed narrative. With a trembling voice masked by forced confidence, Sally spins the elaborate tale of Adam's ruthless intimidation. She paints a vivid, compelling picture of being backed into a corner, claiming that she and Audra had absolutely no choice but to walk away empty-handed to save the broader interests of their new venture. Sally leans heavily into the role of the overwhelmed victim, desperately hoping that appeasing Billy's protective ego and reinforcing his hatred for Adam will deflect any further scrutiny from Victoria's piercing interrogation. Right on cue, Billy swallows the fabricated narrative whole, his protective instincts flaring into a state of righteous, blinding anger. He puffs up with indignation, his voice rising as he fiercely defends Sally against what he perceives as the tyrannical bullying of the Newman family. He directs all of his venom toward Adam, completely validating Sally's lie, and unknowingly cementing his own impending. Billy's absolute, unwavering defense of Sally is a tragic spectacle, a heartbreaking display of blind trust that Victoria observes with a mixture of pity and cold satisfaction. He is practically begging for a war with Adam to avenge Sally's lost company, entirely unaware that the woman sitting beside him has already cashed the check for her supposed suffering. The moment of execution arrives with breathtaking suddenness. Victoria cuts through Billy's angry tirade and Sally's desperate charade with surgical, devastating precision. Her voice drops an octave, losing all pretense of polite curiosity as she introduces a single, catastrophic word into the conversation: compensation. The ambient noise of the venue seems to evaporate, leaving a deafening, terrifying silence in its wake. Without breaking eye contact with Sally, Victoria reaches into her designer bag and produces the undeniable physical proof of the betrayal. She places a meticulously compiled digital tablet directly onto the table, the screen brightly illuminating the exact financial routing numbers, the dates, and the massive sum of money secretly transferred from Adam's shell corporation into Sally's private accounts. The physical evidence hits the table with the destructive force of a localized earthquake, instantly stopping the rotation of Sally's world. The blood violently drains from her face, leaving her pale and trembling as the undeniable truth of her deceit lies exposed under the harsh lighting. Every carefully constructed defense, every rationalization Audra had provided, evaporates into thin air. Sally is entirely paralyzed, stripped of her armor, and drowning in a suffocating wave of shame and terror. She is the architect of her own demise, completely cornered by Victoria's flawless investigation, unable to utter a single syllable of denial as the damning numbers glow brightly between them. Beside her, Billy undergoes a slow, agonizing psychological fracture. He stares at the glowing screen, his mind violently struggling to process the impossible information before him. The numbers blur as the horrific reality of the betrayal seeps deep into his bones. It is not merely about the staggering amount of money, it is the profound, calculated, and deeply intimate deception executed by the woman he trusted with his darkest vulnerabilities. The shock mutates into a profound, paralyzing devastation that steals the breath from his lungs. The memory of his past failures, his historical inability to trust, and his desperate hope for a pure future with Sally all compound into a singular, agonizing point of absolute heartbreak. He realizes in real time that he has been played for a fool, manipulated by a secret alliance between his lover and his greatest enemy. The agonizing climax stretches into an eternity of silent suffering. Victoria stands tall and victorious amidst the emotional wreckage she has so effortlessly created, a silent, unyielding judge, surveying the total destruction of Billy's fragile reality. Sally remains frozen, a prisoner of her own guilt, her eyes brimming with terrified tears as she watches the love, the trust, and the future completely die in Billy's shattered gaze. The scene freezes on Billy's hollow, devastated expression as he looks from the financial proof to the woman he thought he knew, leaving an open-ended atmosphere of impending doom, irreversible destruction, and the terrifying question of what a completely broken Billy Abbott will do next.